Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So I had a great question in the comments asking about how I house hacked 3 properties starting off back in 2017. So for context, I bought my first in 2017, my second in 2019, and my third in 2020. So in each situation, I put 10% down. And the question is, after your first house, since you still have debt from your first mortgage, the bank is still willing to lend you 90% for the second and third house? Or did you keep your income, keep your DTI below 43%? Thank you. So for those of you who are new to real estate, DTI means debt to income ratio. So what happens is when you buy a primary residence, anytime you buy a primary residence or single family home, the banks are looking at something called your debt to income ratio. And when you're first buying a primary, they're looking at your debt and your income. So for me, most of my income or all my income, to be honest, was coming from my W-2 job as a pharmacist. So I think probably making around $180K at the time. And once you buy a mortgage or buy a house, they're gonna look at your debt. So do you have student loans? Do you have car payments? Do you have credit card debt? Do you have any lines of credits? Do you have any other obligations? Right? And for me, I just paid off my student loans, so I didn't have any student loan debt. That was finished. I never have credit card debt because I auto pay my credit cards in full every month. I didn't have a line of credit. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't have a car loan. I just owned my car free and clear. So for me, I just had income from my pharmacist job, and I had a great credit score because I always paid everything off on time and in full. So that's what banks like. So for the first property, yes, I put 10% down because I had a good W-2. Now, if I buy the second property, this is where it gets more complicated because I'm putting 10% down. And once again, the bank's going to look, okay, well, now you have a mortgage over here. And if you don't have it rented out or have it as a rental, it's going to count against your debt to income ratio. But for me, I was able to rent it out and I had leases. So, at the time, interest rates were low, about 3% on average. And because of that, I can rent it out. And for the most part, I was kind of breaking even or slightly cash flow negative, but I could show a lease so that now comes in as my income so that my debt to income goes down. So this is how the process works with single family homes, at least, right? So when I bought my third house hack, once again, I put 10% down, but I rented out my first house, which was getting income, and they have a track record in lease, and they could see my tax returns, which showed that income. Then my second property, I rented out as well, and I could show the lease. I could show, the bank statements. I could show the income coming in on my tax returns. So once again, it counts as my income, so it lowers my debt to income ratio, right? But what I will say is, after a while, it gets the more properties you own, like myself, the harder and harder it is to qualify under debt to income ratio. Especially if you start doing value add real estate like me, where I'm dumping in $300,000 of renovation over 2 years to stabilize and fix up apartment complex, right? So, that's when it gets harder and harder because banks, they view it as more risky, right? And you can have up to, I think, 10 loans, conventional loans. After that, it starts to become more, investor loans, right? Where I'm looking at commercial loans, portfolio loans. Typically, these have higher interest rates on them. So, for example, when I bought my 26 unit apartment complex, the bank doesn't really look at me as much, right? They don't really care about my debt to income ratio as much. I mean, they factor it in, but what they care about is how much income is my apartment generating day one? And can the income from the apartment cover the debt by itself on its own? And if it's close, then they might look at you personally to see if you can cover that difference. Right? So how I describe it in my course and my mentorship and all that is in single family real estate or single family loans, that's a 1 to 4 units. So single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex, or quadplex. They're basically focused on you personally. They're looking at your debt to income ratio and they're looking at your credit score. When you go to 5+ units and you're in commercial loans or you're in portfolio loans, they look less at you and more at the property, right? How's a property performing? Right? And so, for example, the lenders look at the net operating income of the property. So what's your monthly income? Let's say it's $10,000 is your monthly rent. $5,000 is your monthly income. You have a net operating income of $5,000. that's what the bank's looking at to compare against the loan. So if the monthly loan payment is, let's say, $3,000, then they know they have margin. So they're probably landing on the deal, right? Even if your personal debt to income ratio may not be great or your credit score may not be great. So that's why when you start off in real estate investing, you start off looking at your debt to income ratio. But once you get into like commercial properties, multifamily apartments, that's when they look more about the property and less about you. They only care about you as the operator, right? So if I can get a apartment that has great income, has great upside, and have experience as an operator, that's all the bank's going to care about, right? So especially when you get to apartments, so the next level. And this is the natural progression, right? Like when you do single family homes, you can only get 10 conventional loans. So, for me, all my single family homes in California are conventional. My primary is conventional, but my 26 unit apartment, my 20 unit apartment, they are all commercial loans. If I were to buy another 18 unit apartment complex, which I'm underwriting right now, I'll have a video about that later, so stay tuned. I'm very excited about this deal. But if I were to get that, it's going to be more about how's the property doing and what's my experience, but they still may look at me personally and all my other properties to see my track record, to see my income, right? But the more real estate you own, your tax returns look more and more complicated and look less pretty and look confusing. So traditional banks do not like me. So like I have a video talking about when I bought this primary residence I'm sitting in, it was the hardest loan I went through because I owned businesses that lost money. I had some real estate that I renovated a lot. I sold a mobile home park for a loss. Like there's a lot of things going on and they don't like that. They just want a simple tax return, W-2 income, and then no debt. That's all they want, right? Which my fiance was, not me. So, that's just kind of natural progression as you get more advanced in real estate. If you want to go down this way, right? Like if you own 10 single family homes, all conventional loans, you can build a lot of wealth just doing that in itself organically over time, right? But if you want to accelerate that journey and go into multifamily, that's what the route you're going to go. So to kind of summarize, debt to income ratio, credit score only really matter for conventional loans. Once you start getting into multifamily, commercial loans, portfolio loans, DSCR loans, at that point, you're probably paying a higher interest rate, but they don't look at your debt to income as much. They look at your experience. They look at how the property is doing, right? And they may look at your credit score a little bit if they're kind of at a tipping point, right? Like obviously, banks will love somebody with a great debt to income ratio, with a great credit score, even if you're buying apartments, right? Like it can't hurt you to have that. So hopefully this answered your question. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Love to answer your questions. Whatever topics you want me to discuss, happy to discuss. I did launch a Making Multifamily Money School community for those who want to be surrounded by like-minded individuals, for those who want to pop on, pick my brain on a weekly basis. There's live streams, they're recorded. And if you just want to interact and communicate or, talk about your war scars, your victories of other people who want to support you, check out my school community, link down below. Also, if you want more personalized one-on-one mentorship, check out the Making Multifamily Money mentorship program, also linked down below. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe. I hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.